So then technically, if you're doing it as soon as you hit the button, then we would be live right now if you do that.
Oh, we are. Okay.
If you do it as we hit the button. So
I see. Let me just double check I did this right here. 2 seconds. I'm sure we're good to go here. The Zoom
yeah,
thing.
we're up.
We're up. Okay, awesome.
All right,
Good
we are
stuff.
live.
I gotta get used to the Zoom thing. I'm not used to it. Everybody, welcome to Whiskey Thursday. Another episode here tonight. I'm super excited to have Luke Shankula, who is legendary when it comes to Facebook ads for lenders, LOs, lenders, mortgages, and then you also work in other niches, industries. And just in the past quarter, you spent over $250,000 worth of Facebook ads, which is impressive. So we're excited. We're excited to have you. We've known you for a long time. I've been following your posts, and we were in some of the same groups together. So we're really excited to have you on tonight. Yeah. Finally getting you on. So welcome, Luke. Very nice to have you.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. Thanks, Shane and Matt. It's been a while, man. We've known each other since the Dan Henry days back in 2017, I think it was.
It's been a couple of years now, for sure, for sure. Let me 2 seconds here. Let me just change my name because
I know I keep almost calling you Matt. I keep seeing Matt.
Yeah.
I know what your name is. That's Matt there.
Yeah, let me hit, I want to make sure to record this so that we can keep these in our archives. So there we go. Awesome. Well, Luke, again, thanks so much for coming. Matt here is going to get at the broadcasts really quickly. Spam everybody inside the group, outside the group.
And, people have been spammed.
There you go. About 5,000 subscribers just got that, which is great. Matt, do you want to do your thing here? Get some engagement going. I don't know.
All right. If you guys are watching live, you know the drill. Hashtag live in the comments below. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay in the comments below. And let us know tonight where you are currently watching from. Yes, we are finally early for our 9 o'clock show. No, I'm serious. Well, we're kind of late for our 8 o'clock show, but still, right. we changed the time. This is the new time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And this is official now. So 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Whiskey Thursdays now on Thursday. It was just getting way too late for Matt. 9 o'clock was just way past his bedtime. So,
well, it's those after parties when we hang out with the guests afterwards and we sit and drink. Like everybody's getting too tired, and I couldn't handle it.
2 o'clock in the morning, and we got meetings the following day, and we're just absolutely hungover.
Oh my gosh! I think last week we were on with Joe until like 1:30. So
absolutely crazy. Well, cheers, guys. Luke, I know you're drinking tequila tonight. Awesome. I got some wine. And I'm sure that Matt there's drinking his whiskey. So cheers, guys. Thanks, Luke, again for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. So we've got Adams here. Nice to see you, Royal, Chris, Andrew, Keith, Mo. Thanks everybody for joining us here. And so Luke, tonight we're going to talk about typically what we do is we just have a bit of fun here, learn a little bit more about what you're doing. Try to get you drunk, maybe share some secrets with us. And, typically, as this goes on and progresses, depending on how long these typically go, at the end of it, people are getting a ton of value because, we just let loose a little bit. So why don't you just give us a little bit of a background on, obviously you're doing really, really well right now. You've grown your business quite a bit actually this year in 2019 looks really, really good for you.
Yeah.
But my guess is it hasn't always been like this. So why don't you give us a little bit of background where you're coming from and what you've been doing?
Yeah, man, it's honestly been the last 8-10 months. That's been the real kind of growth. That's where the hockey stick finally started coming into play, right? Before that, it was just the stick part of it, not the curve.
Yeah.
So, it was a pretty consistent, $1,000 to $2,000. So let's just kind of go back to the beginning. So I got laid off back in the beginning of 2017. So it's now been 2 years. I got laid off. I was an account executive at a reverse mortgage company, and I was already contemplating doing something, right? So I ended up getting my loan officer license, and I had started listening to Entrepreneur on Fire, right? So Russell Brunson came on randomly. They were always talking about Facebook ads, but Russell Brunson came on. I started following Russell Brunson. So I realized, you know what, I can run Facebook ads for myself as a loan officer. So I'm like, okay, cool, start doing that. Realized being a loan officer is not what I wanted to do. It was harder than I expected. It was not what I liked to do. And I fell in love with marketing, right? So around June of, so it's not even 2 years now, around June is where I officially launched my agency, which basically means nothing. I didn't get my first client till August, had a couple trial clients, didn't know what I was doing. I don't think I got results for any of my trial clients. Randomly got a mortgage client who, what's funny is that he signed up with me again on Monday of this week after, so I was like, I even told him, I'm like, I'm going to give you the same deal because you were one of the first people that gave me a chance at the beginning. So I'm going to give you the same deal, which was much cheaper than what my retainer is now. Because I was like, man, I appreciate that you gave me a chance. But got my first client August, was still struggling. I mean, I'd pick up a client, I'd lose the client after a month. I'd pick up a client, I'd lose the client after a month. Pick up a client, lose the client after a month. So that just kept going. That was like the I don't know. That's just what kept happening.
The agency roller coaster.
Yeah. Well, especially like, I mean, you guys know, right? Not reverse, but real estate is the same, right? It's most people are pretty bad at sales. They can't close internet leads. And then also obviously like there's so many things that go into that. It's finding the right clients and all that sort of stuff. It's a long sales cycle. And so they're expecting to get ROI the first week, which of course in that space is not possible. But, over time you start to learn a little bit more about kind of what needs to happen, what you need to set the expectations for and all that sort of stuff. And so you start to kind of grow that way. And so I invested in, I think over the last 2 years, I've invested close to $50,000-$60,000 in courses, mentors, whatever, just in improving myself. Mm-hmm. And it's finally starting to pay off, right? It finally started to pay off, around June of last year. So, basically I would be about $1,000 to $2,000 a month for the longest time. I ended up having to get a job again. So I got laid off in January. I ended up having a job again in November doing the same thing as an account executive. Got laid off again in April of 2018 or March or April of 2018. The whole time I was still working on the agency. I literally had a computer set up on my kitchen table and I had the work computer on one side and then my setup for the agency, the freelancer stuff on the other side. And I just would grind away, work 10, 12, 14 hours. I didn't have a freaking computer seat. So I was literally just sitting on the kitchen, it's called seats, which were like, hurt my ass all day. Finally, I upgraded to like an actual desk and an actual seat, which was awesome. But
that just happens at Matt. Matt just upgraded all his stuff.
Yeah, because it was nuts, man. And so that's all part of the journey, right? But then I got laid off, and I had told my wife like multiple times. I'm sure she never believed me, right? But I told her multiple times, like, you're gonna not have to go back to work next year. She's a teacher, so she's gonna finish off her year. We had another kid. Well, so in the midst of this, we had another kid. I forgot about that. We had a kid in February. We had our second in February. Then I got laid off like a month later. So I had no money coming in from a job. I told her she should quit or she should just not go back. But she had already told them she wasn't going to go back. And I'm like crapping my pants. I have to figure something out, right? So I invested in a couple programs. They ended up kind of paying off. I started to gain some momentum, but it still took 3 or 4 months, right? Finally, in June of last year, I hit $2,300 in revenue. I was like, yeah, I'm crushing it. And then that's when it started taking off. It was like the next month was $5,000. And then the month after that was like $7,000. And the month after that was like $9,000. And then $14,000. And then $18,000. And then so it just kept growing month after month after month. And then all of a sudden I fell in with some health insurance guys. And that just exploded everything like even more. So all of a sudden I'm like 30,000, 50,000, 80,000. And then like February, had my biggest month, which was 88K in revenue. And so, yeah, that was like the journey. And then, as we were talking about, lost a couple clients. And so rebuilding some of that stuff up as well. But that's the basics of the journey. Obviously I could get into a lot more nitty gritty, but there's not really any reason to. It's it's hard if you've ever done this.
Yeah, and that's an amazing journey.
Is he lagging for you?
It's me, I think.
I see somebody's lagging. Is it Shane?
No, I don't know. We're talking back and forth, so I think it's
Shane. You're lagging a little bit, man. You sound like a robot.
Right. There we go.
There we go.
So, I don't know what happened there.
Are you back?
Good? I'm here.
We're good. Okay, you just stopped talking, so we were like, wait,
no.
Again?
Well, I heard
Incredible Journey.
Incredible. Okay, yeah. I don't know what happened there, and I switched my headphones too because my wife decided to vacuum during Whiskey Thursday. So, anyway,
did you forget to tell her about the 8 o'clock thing?
I know she knows. This is a perfect time to do it.
You might hear my kids in the background too. So
it's all good. It's all good. Well, we had James Cluster on. I don't know if it was Whiskey Thursday we had him on or for a training session or something like that. And his kids were there in the background running around, and he was on daddy duty. So it was all good. So yeah, amazing journey. You got a few clients when you first started. I mean, I think that's also a big struggle, right? You get into this. It's tough to get a paying client. You get a paying client. You lose a paying client. You try to get another. Like this is constant thing, right? And so I'm really curious to know what you learned from that experience, which was get a client, lose a client, get a client, lose a client, because I went through that as well. And what you changed in your business that all of a sudden just propelled you to go up to close to $90,000 a month in revenue, because that's huge. And you're on your own, right? So you're not this is you're a one-man show here pretty much.
I mean, I have a couple VAs. So I have one VA that does almost all my prospecting. She also sets up all my campaigns, and then I have a VA that does appointment setting for me, and then I have a sales guy as well. So I have a team of 4 at this point, and I'm looking to bring on an account manager and a media buyer here within the next probably 2 or 3 months.
Right.
Sooner rather than later, because I need to get out of doing those things. So I can really, truly grow the business. But yeah, I mean, it was a journey, right? And so I would attribute a lot of it to I think the couple things, right? Like 1, environment, 2, mindset, 3, persistence. I never gave up, right? I feel like I did everything wrong. I still feel like I do everything wrong on a daily basis, but I just get up every day and I just do it again. And I do it again. And I do it again. I do it again. And that's the thing is most people think that they do that for 2 months and they're like, oh shit, it's not working.
But something must have clicked to go from $2,000 and getting clients, losing clients, to all of a sudden going to 10,000, to 20, to 50, to 80. These are huge jumps, right?
Yeah.
And so I really think that even for us, we had similar journeys as well. I mean, it took me 6 months to get, one paying client. I got a couple clients, lost a couple clients. Then I was back on, I had to prospect again. And then, a few things just started clicking. And I think one thing that you just said that was kind of interesting when you said your environment, which, can you explain that a little bit? I understand what you mean by that. And I think that's been a big impact for us as well. But just for people that are listening, what do you mean by that?
So, I mean, I'm sure you guys know, but, Jim Rohn always, used to say, right? Yeah, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? And so one of the things that I've done, I feel like I've done a very good job of doing is seeking out people that are ahead of me, whether it be paying my way into them. That was mostly what it is right? Paying your way into higher level circles. Yeah. Whether it be going to events. I still remember, I don't know if you guys know Nick Robbins, but I still remember going to an event back in May of last year, and I literally followed him around trying to like sit next to him. It wasn't like a creeper or anything, but I just like, I even told him.
It wasn't like a creeper or anything. I just followed him around to try and sit.
I just
something Matt would do.
I made it a point to be to be close to him, because I was like, you know what, like, and that's another thing. It was like when I met him, like when you first see someone that's like at that pinnacle, you think like, holy crap, they got it all figured out, and then you meet someone and you're like, oh, that's just a normal dude. You know what I mean? Like that was like the 4-minute mile kind of to me. It was like, dude, this guy he just worked his ass off for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Yeah, like he didn't sign a client for 8 months, 10 months. It's like, oh, we're all like that. We all had the same struggles.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the biggest shifts. It was like, it's all about like you're building a foundation, and so many times people like try to skip that part, and then they go to being a guru, like, oh, let me go sell courses to marketers, and it's like, well, like you skip like the whole foundational part. So like at some point, like you never put the roots deep enough where you're gonna get past that, right? Like maybe you made a little bit of money, but I don't know. It just seems to me that too many people like give up too early and try to do something else before, you know. To me, that's really what it was. Is I just didn't give up. Like I'm saying, like, I feel like I didn't do anything right ever, but I just kept doing like one step a day, one step.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you just kind of, you know, every day, like you said, hard work, persistence, and
being around people that are above you, that you can like, so like if you spend time with a bunch of people that are broke, you're going to stay broke. But if you like get into a group where there's everybody's, you know, maybe there's some people that are with you, and then there's some people that are like way like above you, a little bit above you, and then there's some people that are way above you. Like that's aspirational. It's gonna get you to that next level. I mean, just like playing sports, when you play with people that are worse than you, you play worse. You play with people that are better, you just have to raise your standards, right? Yeah. And so, and sorry if I get passionate, so like I might start like getting all crazy over here, but
no, we love it. We love it. It's true. And a lot of people don't tell you this part. You know, yeah. Nobody wants to be the guy who says you have to go pay to get into some of these circles. So and the reality is that sometimes you do.
Well, and the other thing is this: if you're expecting someone to pay you $2,500 a month or whatever your fee is, and you've never invested in yourself, what the hell do you think you're putting out into the universe? What do you think? Like that is like they're not going to pay you because you've never invested in yourself. Why would they invest in you if you've never invested in yourself?
Yeah.
People want to get free information. I can get it on YouTube. Well, hell yeah, of course you can. But
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
very, very true. And again, you know, I think the hard work and persistence and just dedication to keep doing it. I mean, the same thing that I did. You know, I lost a, you know, really large account. It was depressing for a day, and you just get back up the next day and go. You know, I had another account, and I had just a bad relationship with somebody else, and it just, you know, things kind of fell apart. And it's like, okay, you get through that, and you just get up and keep doing it. I mean, it's right. And I've been there many, many times.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah. So it's
like I said, man. I mean, I just lost, you know, quite a few big clients the last 6 weeks. So I definitely kind of went, even after like I hit my best month, and then, you know, really, really tapered off, and I took it really personally, and I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I just need to get back up and like go. So like this week, then we closed, like I said, we closed 4 people already. We have another 2 or 3 that hopefully should close this week. And we're just fired. I mean, I'm just fired up, man. I'm fired up. My sales guy's fired up. We're gonna be, just watch out, man. We're coming.
That's awesome.
I love the part about investing in yourself, though, because like I think it's missed by so many people, because like you said, you can go find something on YouTube, you can go find it in a Facebook group, you can find little pieces, you can piece the whole thing together if you want, but a lot of times you're going to miss small details that make a big difference, right? And you're not going to have the support network for when you need something. You know, when I first got into real estate, like, you know, I spent money I didn't have to get to a class I couldn't afford, and then halfway through the class I couldn't afford, they upsold you to coaching, which I also couldn't afford, but I figured out how to pay for. And then, you know, next thing I know, within 16 months at 24 years old or whatever it was, you know, I'd made 6 figures. So,
right.
But it was like, it was not easy. It was a grind, and it was like investing in yourself when you didn't think there was like anything there to invest with, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you have to, and that's the thing. It's like, and sometimes you need people that believe in you more than you believe in yourself too. And almost need to pay yourself. Like I had mentors that like he would tell me, like one of my mentors, he would tell me like, dude, I could just see you're going to blow up. I could just see you're going to blow up. I could just see you're going to blow up. Like he would just tell me that. And like, I don't know, maybe that was like programming in my head or something. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Right. Like maybe he was able to program me to like believe in myself or something. But like all of a sudden, 3-4 months later, like it just started blowing up. And he's like, man, I always believed in you. And it's just like, it's just crazy that's part of that. What comes with paying your way into those circles too. It's like they've been through the same situations you've been through. So they understand like, okay, you're almost there. You're at that breakthrough point. Like you're so close. Just keep grinding, just keep going, just keep moving. That's all it takes, right? Like it's all it takes. If you don't give up, like you're never going to fail. You're never actually going to fail.
It's true. It's true. Now, did you find it was easier to keep pushing when you hit that point where it was like your wife had said she's not going back to work, you just had another kid and been laid off? Was it easier to push when you had all that pressure there? Did that make any difference for you?
I think so, man. I think that's part of the Tony Robbins thing, right? Like burn the boats, right? Like burn the boats and you'll take the island. Because when you don't necessarily need it, it's not like like you have to need it. It has to be like a necessity. What is it? Tony Robbins says that too. Like when your wants become your musts, I think is what he says. When your wants become your musts, that's when massive change happens.
Yeah, I know what you're referring to. Yeah, and it's totally true. Like when I went to the agency thing, which is actually it was just a year ago, March 23rd, is when I quit my job. But I had no clients, completely just was like, all right, I'm burning the boats, quit my job and went into this. And it was absolutely terrifying. But like you said, you just keep pushing.
Yep. So then networking.
Yeah. Well, what do you think makes the difference between somebody who is pushing every day, or maybe they just think they're pushing every day, but they're not getting the success the way that you did over time?
I mean, so it's hard. So this is what I always kind of attribute it to. Is like I had a buddy that went from like 0 to 70 clients in 3 months, right? Mm-hmm. Which is nuts. But he also put in 4 years working for a company that so there's always another story, right? There's always a backstory as to why. Like just because like someone goes from 0 to $1 million in a year, like you don't know the past history. Like maybe they grinded away for 10 years before that, trying to start 10 businesses and it didn't work out, right? Like there's so much that goes into someone's success than the timeline of like the actual time when they started doing that. To like, what have you done in life? Were you already a sales like beast before you got into an agency? Mm-hmm. If you weren't, then you're gonna have to learn that stuff, right? Someone already put the time in to do that, and I think that's where it's at. It's like we're all on our own journeys, and by comparing ourselves to other people, that's never like, I mean, what do they say? Comparison is the enemy of happiness, right? I think you can use comparison in a positive way, but I think most of the time it's a negative thing. Comparison, I mean, if you're looking up to people that are ahead of you and you're just like, okay, I would like to get there, that's motivational, yada, yada, yada. But most of the time what we do is we're like, oh man, they're there. Like, I'm never going to get there. That's just too hard. Like, he's got this special, he had this set up, he had this, they did that. Like there's always an excuse as to why someone else has it easier. And then like, I guarantee you ask that person and they're going to say like, nah, I freaking grinded my ass off. I freaking got out of my eyes to freaking make this work. All right. Like we all have our own stories and we can't compare ourselves, I think, negatively to someone else and say, hey, like,
and I think a lot of times, and a lot of people just don't realize what goes into a lot of these successes. I mean, that's
absolutely
like, people like to get to from 0 to $1 million or, from $1 million to 3 million, whatever it is. I mean, it's a work. It's not just a little bit of work. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of failing. It's a lot of trying to, learning different things and similar to what happened to you, happened to me, happened to Matt. There's a lot of work that goes into this. And I think a lot of times people forget that and they don't see that part of it because you're only seeing what, people are doing on social media and all the good stuff, right? You don't see all the shitty stuff that happens.
I don't talk about I don't talk about losing $50,000 in 6 weeks, but it happens. You know what I mean? Like it's like one of those things. Like,
you're not posting, right? Like your posts are like, hey, everybody lost 3 clients this week. Woohoo!
Yeah, exactly. But it's the reality, right? It's just like, and that's what I used to do too, is I used to see like people talking about their 50-cent leads and their $2 leads, and like, why aren't my leads that much? And then I started to realize like, oh, because that's all you only, like, we're marketers, right? We talk about our wins. We're not gonna freaking talk about our freaking, I mean, we'll talk about our shitty stuff in the freaking, in 2, 3, 4 months when we can frame it in the right way and we can make it a actionable story or whatever. But yeah, it's.
Right. That's the thing. I mean, we run into this all. Yeah, you run into this all the time too, especially with new marketers. Like, well, like, why my leads are not $2 a lead, or why are they not $1.50? Like everybody else. It's like, no, everybody. Like, what you're seeing is the best of the best all the time, right? It's just that's what you're seeing. I mean, and it's like we just posted something a couple of days ago. We were showing I don't know, 10,000 leads or something at an average cost of $4.38. Like, that's our average for that. But yeah, I'm going to grab those posts, like those days where we're getting, leads for $1.15 on that exact same campaign. I'm going to go in there, screenshot the shit out of it, and that goes into the archives. And that's what I'm going to use to market, right? Like, I mean,
of course.
But it does have a negative impact for sure, especially on marketers and new marketers as well. Even today, like I saw a post a couple of days ago, and this girl posted, she's like, oh, we do this and this and this with real estate, and here are our results. And I'm looking, it's like 63 cents a lead. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I looked at the phone, like, I want to reach out to her. Maybe I just, give her $500 to tell me what she's doing. It's like, and I'm like thinking, well, like, I mean, we teach this stuff, right? And a lot of people are getting 50-cent leads, and so yeah, I mean, it's just that's the tactic, right? But yeah, I even get sucked into it.
So, it happens all the time. We'll see somebody and they're using like the October 3rd masterclass, and I don't see it and I'm like just looking. I'm like, wait, 12 cent for the first? Okay, and they've got like 48-cent leads, and they got like 7 in a row. I'm like, okay, what are they? And then like you scroll up and be like, they're actually using the same system we do, right? They lucked out on that one, or maybe they're doing great on that one. Who knows?
And I mean, and 60-cent leads are. Yeah, and what's the area? What's the market? Yeah,
right. There's so many variables that go into lead costs. I mean, like literally, it could be like that specific ad set like went to a micro audience that didn't perform well. Like if you duplicated that same ad, like you might get the same. Might get freaking half the cost of leads. Or you might get double the cost of leads. Man, Facebook is freaking crazy. Some days it'll spit out 50-cent leads. The next day it's going to spit out $5 leads.
I know.
Or $50 leads. And like, like I have a health insurance campaign going right now, and it's like one day it's spitting out $5 leads, the next day it's the $30 lead. The next day it's a $5 leads, the next day it's $30. I like just literally looked at it like probably 2 hours ago. Like one day I'm running like $30 a day. Like I'd get 1 lead one day and 7 leads one day. 1 lead the next day and 7 leads the next day. It was just like, what? So of course I'm not going to screenshot the $30 lead. I'm going to screenshot the $7 leads.
Exactly. So right. Here's a tip for all you marketers out there that are just getting into this. As soon as you see those 50-cent leads, you screenshot that shit.
Oh yeah.
Because they don't last forever, and sometimes they do last. Sometimes like depending on the market you're working in, and just maybe it's that time of month. You're gonna get 50-75-cent leads for the next 3 weeks. I mean, it does happen, right? But in most cases, and that becomes a problem for some marketers, right? So, but anyways, yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about exactly what you're doing.
Well, before we do, let us know in the comments down below, guys. If you're watching live, #live. If you're watching the replay, #replay. And also, let us know: are you currently a marketer or are you an agent? Or some of you are both. So let us know: are you a marketer? Are you an agent? And is real estate, if you're a marketer, is real estate your main gig right now, or are you currently in another industry looking to move towards real estate? I'm curious on that. So let us know down below in the comments.
It's getting a little warm. I had to turn on my fan and open my window.
Where are you based out of?
Worked up. San Diego.
Oh, San Diego.
Oh, nice.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So horrible weather we got out here, man. It's probably like 80 degrees outside right now. I don't know.
It's like 54 and raining right now.
I don't hardly ever see it, but That's how warm it is outside.
Let's see. We got Alina says real estate loan officer. Steve says marketer. Cedric says IT. Brett says both. Pat says live. Cedric says live. Sonny says marketer. Main gig is lending. Let's see here. Alina says no matter what we do, we're all marketers, Matt.
It's true.
It's very true. It's very true. And the sooner people realize that, the better for them. You're all salespeople. You're all marketers. But Tim says rough life. I think he's referring to your weather currently. And
Yeah.
So cool. Shane, you were asking a question there before I so rudely interrupted.
I forget. I'm just gonna grab another drink here. What are you reading? I just trying to see what books you were reading there that are behind you.
Talking to me?
Yeah.
I have Relentless. I don't know if you've read this one. This is a good one this is from the guy that coached Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan and those guys. Tim Grover.
Nice.
Okay. Traction. I haven't read this one yet.
I've heard about that one. I haven't read it either.
And then I've started reading this one, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling. This is the guy, Dale Carnegie, So yeah.
Love it.
Nice. Something I need to do.
A big reader?
I try to. I haven't been as much. I've been doing a lot of audiobooks recently, so they've probably been sitting there for, I don't know, a couple months.
But they look good in the background, right?
Yeah, you got to set it up nicely so that they perfect.
Yeah, it's like the ones I have here in my drawer. I picked them up, but I haven't read them yet. So let's dig a little bit into what you're doing. I mean, it's I know you're working a lot in mortgages, and you've been doing some is it like health insurance stuff, right? But I think a lot of us here are definitely interested in the mortgage side of things. What's working, what's not working, maybe some tips, some secrets, anything that you can share with us. And I think maybe the big question is this whole thing around long form opt-ins.
Can we define the difference between a short form opt-in and a long form opt-in for anybody who's watching that's not familiar with that?
Yeah, are you talking to me?
Yep.
I mean, so I don't know that I necessarily have an exact definition for what it is. I call mine long form because I typically gather anywhere from 8 to 12 plus questions on a questionnaire. Some people call long form 4 or 5. Some people, call long form, I don't know. Some people call long form anything that has more than name, email, phone number. I
typically reside in that camp.
That's fine. I mean, I used to call, I was doing some real estate investing stuff, and I would get an address, and I called it long form. So I think if you're getting more than just name, email, phone number, it could be considered long form. I don't know that we have to go into semantics as to what exactly it means, but ultimately, we're gathering more than just name, email, phone number. So we're getting, how much are they looking to borrow? Are they working with a real estate agent? What's their credit score? How soon are they looking to move? What part of town are they looking to live in? If it's a VA type of a campaign, then we're doing, are they military? Do they, what branch of the military are they in? Do they have a 10% disability? Different questions like that. I mean, if we're doing affinity angles, then we're asking specific questions about the affinities. But yeah, I mean, that's, have you ever owned a home before? Those are some of the basic questions that we're asking for the long form stuff. And
this seems to be pretty standard now for especially for mortgages. I mean, we see it on the real estate side a little bit, but it seems like this is becoming fairly standard for lead generation for mortgages to do long form. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah. I feel like it's anything that you kind of have to qualify for can have a long form. It's a little easier to gather long form, whereas real estate is kind of tough to do long form because you got to figure out the angles as to why someone would fill out that much information. Whereas hey, find out if you qualify for a mortgage, they kind of understand they need to answer a couple questions because otherwise, how would they know? Whereas if you're doing hey, come see these pictures of this listing, no one's going to fill out 12 questions to see a picture. You know what I mean? So But what I do find is that the intent tends to be higher with those. So I think there's merit to each one of the types of leads that you get, right? Depending on your end user, who the client is, what they're looking for, and expectations, and all that sort of stuff, right? Like the lead ads are great for really, really, really cheap leads if you have a good system on the back end to work it. Most agents and most loan officers and most businesses in general don't really have the systems in place to handle 587-cent leads. Just being honest. I mean, they don't hardly have the systems in place to handle 100 leads. And even if they're qualified, I mean, they'll call them one time and then just say they suck. And that was one of the issues that I saw at the beginning is like, I'd get these, first I was doing short form, then I started doing long form, and I'd be like, oh man, these are going to be so sweet. Like, man, these are so qualified. And then, oh, I can't get a hold of anybody. Like, wait, what? But then I start to realize but then I get a client that I just had a client that she just started with me last month, already has 4 pre-approvals out off of 120 leads or something like that, 100 leads.
That's awesome. And I always say it too, like, there is a difference between the agents, and I'm sure this is the same with the loan officers, right? I mean, and the leads are exactly the same. There's no difference between the lead forms and the ads that we're using. The person making phone calls is who's different.
That's almost always the differentiator, like almost always. I mean, because someone that can, and what always it's funny because like we hate on Zillow and we hate on Realtor.com, but if someone says that they didn't like Zillow or Realtor.com leads, I'm like, you're probably not going to close Facebook leads. Sorry, bro. Like, just want to be honest with you, because Zillow leads close at much higher up front. They close at a much higher rate. I don't know if you guys saw that agentology report. Oh, yeah, Matt, you posted that. But they say social leads close at a much higher percent if nurtured, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not at a higher percent. Like, there's less qualified people, but they close at a higher conversion rate on the back end.
And the other thing about Zillow, a lot of people forget, right? That 3.8% that Zillow supposedly closes at is Zillow's closing rate. It's not the agent's close rate, because they sell that lead to 3 different people, right? So even if you look at that, technically it's actually a lower percentage rate that agent has a chance with than Facebook leads, even with the long-term follow-up and conversion rates.
Right, because they're fighting with 3 people.
Exactly.
So one of those people, 2 of those people are getting 0% conversion rates.
Yeah. Who's got the best system that's going to call the fastest? I mean, it's like if everybody's using the same, Callingly or whatever it is,
right?
Like, which one's going to pick up first? I mean, it basically comes down to whose server's faster, right? It's going to go through and end up making contact with the lead. Like, there's almost no control at a certain point.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys, I'm sure you guys have read the conversion code, right? And it's like, what he talks about is like, speed to lead is important, but what if you were best? What if you were first and best? Like, like that's the difference too. Is like so many times it's like speed to lead is the most important metric, I feel like, but if you don't know how to separate from like transactional, and so many times people are so caught up in like the transactional side of things that they forget they're talking to a human. Like, they're literally talking to a human on the other end, and they're like, all they can think about is money, 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 money. I need to close this loan. I need to close this. I need to close or real estate, right? I need to get an application. I need to get an appointment set for a listing appointment. And they're so caught up in that they forget to ask about, like, oh, okay, so your kids are in the hospital right now, yada yada yada, right? Like, going into the emotional aspects of why someone would move, right? Like, I don't know, it's nuts.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And I've heard a lot of conversations between agents, and there's a couple agents that I work with that close at a very, very high rate. And some of the conversations I've heard that they've done, they're very, very personable people. I would say that the first 5 minutes of a conversation is just, if they have an opportunity to find out their kids' names, if they're going to college or whatever, like they dig into that stuff. Mm-hmm. My wife does a lot of her own, like, we do all the lead gen for my wife. Like, her basic rule is dig 3 times, like 3 questions into 1 question, right? So like, I listen to her on the phone calls, and it's like she's digging into everything, and those conversations, they go on forever. But she's building rapport and relationships, right?
They say dig deep or go to sleep. What is that? That's from the book, The Conversion.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, like, and that goes a long way, you know, and I think people also remember, and you're right. I think people are just, you know, forget that they're talking to a person on the other line. And I think the other thing too is that we you know, as marketers and real estate agents, you know, you're selling homes. Like, you know, you gotta remember that you're selling homes, and you know, the largest asset somebody's probably ever going to buy in their lifetime. And as a marketer, that's what you're trying to sell. And as a real estate agent, I mean, it's the same thing, right? So,
right.
Yeah. And I mean, like Luke said earlier, you know, it's not just speed, but you also got to be the best, right? There's been plenty of times when we were competing with Zillow leads when I was running the ISA team, and we wouldn't get it first, right? So we have multiple leads coming in all day. We might not be first, but if the agent before us didn't do their job well, we got the appointment. You know, they may have given some information to that person about the house, but they never got the appointment, you know?
Right.
So it's more than just being fast, but you can't be just either.
And that's another thing too. There's a lot of, on the real estate side of things too, is, you know, and we're noticing this too, is it's just, the agents don't know what they're doing. I mean, and that's okay. You haven't been trained properly. And the problem, the other side of it is you got a marketer that doesn't know what they're doing either, right? So when you got those two things combined, you're not gonna convert any leads, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like we were talking about the other day. You know, as a marketer, if you're going to take somebody's money and provide a service, it's your job to do everything you can to be the best at your job, just the same as it is for that agent.
Right.
And I think actually, go ahead, Luke. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say I think it's imperative to try to get them as close to the sale as possible, because so it's funny. It's funny. So like, there's two sides of things, right? There's the one side of thing that like real estate agents, mortgage guys, like they somehow want marketers to compress a 6 to 9 month sales cycle into a 30-day period, right? They're like, hey, well, we know our sales cycle is 6 to 9 months, but we only want the people that are ready in 30 days because we're paying money. And so even though we know that our industry is a 6 to 9 month sales cycle, we somehow think that marketers need to get us the next 30-day sort of people. And it's like, yeah, there's a tiny percentage of people within that 100 leads that you get that are going to be ready to move in 60 or 90 days. But the rest of them are going to be 6 to 9 months, if not 12 or 24 months out. And if we don't address that, then we're all in the wrong. But I also do think that it's important to get them as close to the sale as possible too. It's like when I first started, it was, hey, I just provided leads, and then I realized real quickly that wasn't enough. And then it's like, okay, now I have a follow-up system, and I was like, well, that's not enough. Here's conversion training, and I'm like, I'm a marketer, like, and I'm having to come up with like training on how to sell. But it's, you know, at the end of the day, like, I want to do as much as possible to have them have success, because if they don't have success, they're not going to stay with me. But at the end of the day, it's not even about them like giving me money. It's about like, I feel that it's my ethical obligation for them to ROI off my services, right? Like, that's what needs to happen. And so many times marketers are like, oh, well, I did my job. I sent them leads. Well, you sent them leads, but you didn't show them how to work them. You didn't, like, this is a brand new like space. It's a brand new.
Man, I don't know how many times I've seen marketers say that, especially in some of the other groups too. It's like, I did my job. I got them leads. That's it.
And Henry preaches that all the time. So I mean, I can understand that. Like, they're hearing it from their guru. So I mean, why else? What else would you say, right? Like,
yeah. And I find that really interesting. You know, that you and I mean, it's something that we do as well. We go, you know, as far as providing, you know, we provide coaching for clients. But I find it interesting that you built a follow-up system, and then the next step was really like, okay, I need to learn actually how to convert these leads, right? It's something that I did. We built out an ISA team to learn it. Right. Like, that was one of the, you know, we weren't making any money. In fact, I lost a lot of money because of it, but I wanted to learn it, and I wanted to know what was happening with the leads and how to call them and how do we convert them, or what are the struggles the agents are. And it's something very similar that you did. In fact, you ended up picking up our conversion course. You modified that for mortgages. And then now you're giving that away to your clients, which I think is genius, right? So, and if your clients
go Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, marketers need to remember that if your clients are getting conversions and they're closing deals, they're not going to go anywhere else. They're going to keep paying the bill. Remember that. But if they're not, then they're going to disappear.
Well, and I think it's two tiers too. Like it's not always just about results. Like I'm currently listening to Never Lose a Customer Again by Joey Coleman, and so he talks about the first 100 days, but he's saying basically like there's two types. There's the customer service and there's customer experience, and it's about like creating a customer experience, because like when someone buys something, they're like, they have this high and they're like, oh, they're so stoked, and then all of a sudden like they get that buyer's remorse. And like if you're not addressing that like right away, that's where people like, then they're expecting too much, and then there's all this stuff. So that's other things that I've started to implement in my business to set them up for success is onboarding process, expectations. It's making them feel good. It's like literally coaching them through their mindset crap too, because we all have mindset crap that we have to deal with, and they do too. Like they're scared. They think that they made a bad investment. They think like, like that's immediately what they're thinking as soon as they give you money. And if you don't allay those fears, then like they're gonna quit in a month, even if they do have opportunities. Maybe they're not gonna call the leads. They're gonna say the lead sucked. But if you address that ahead of time, it's super. Someone already bought. Cedric just said he bought 2 audiobooks through this.
It's awesome.
Sorry, I'm just gonna keep talking about audiobooks. I need to drop my affiliate link.
That's definitely a good point. Buyer's remorse is huge, especially on the lead gen side of things. It doesn't take long. Somebody's, flipping over, like, handing over $3,000 to you. Then they hop on Facebook. They go into one of the big groups, and you've got somebody in there reporting that, Facebook leads suck, right? And it's like, oh shit, I just paid $4,000 to some guy that I don't know. Right. It's like, that's huge, right? And now they're going into this already not believing in you and what you're doing and the leads you're providing. And that's a really good point. And that's something we should be doing, Matt. We should be addressing that buyer remorse stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and so like what I do is like I've started implementing this is like, they sign up, they pay, I send them a welcome email, they sign up. Within 48 hours, you're supposed to sign up for an onboarding call. So they go and then we go through like a PowerPoint presentation, about a 30-minute PowerPoint presentation talking about like what our system looks like, what to expect. And also as soon as they sign up, I send that welcome email, and I just recorded a video, and it's just me saying like, hey, so excited to get started with you. Like, I understand, this is not a system where we're just going to throw leads into your inbox and then walk away and that's it. Like, we're here to help you. We're on your team. Like, just trying to personalize the process. And I think it's super important. Even as a real estate agent, I feel like that's something you can do as well, is implement something like that, a video, like, because people are buying, like, they're going to feel the same way that a real estate agent is when they buy our services. A person that's buying a home is going to get some of that too. And I remember when I bought a home, or when we put an offer in and it got accepted, and I was like, oh, well, we don't know. And I'm like, and so my real estate agent had to like get on the phone on a Sunday with me and say, hey, like, yeah, we can go look at other houses, but like, this is a great house. And he had to like walk me through talk me through the fears. And I think it's super important to kind of like go through that as well, right? Even from that standpoint. Yeah,
makes sense. No, definitely, it's definitely something we'll be talking about and thinking about. I think it's a great idea. Good tips there, Luke. Thanks.
Yeah. We've got some questions coming in.
Yeah, I see those. You want to read those off? I see Tim there. He's posted a couple questions, and
yeah, I'm going to try and go all the way to the top, make my way down. Also, if you guys have questions, feel free to put them in the chat now so we can try and get to some of these questions. How are we doing? I love that question. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see here. Life experience background, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is a statement.
Derek says #live bitches.
Thank you, Derek. Why don't we do that again? If you're watching live, #live. If you're watching the replay, #replay. And if you don't like hashtags, hashtag, I don't know. I hate hashtags. Whatever. Real estate is
good main job question. There, Matt. That was good.
I know. I was like, I'm gonna go, and I didn't know where I was gonna go because I started reading the question mid-statement there. Anyways, agent marketer, yes, real estate is main. Quick question: would you say that being specific in your targeting would do more harm or good? I'm gonna guess that we're referring to in running ads. So Luke, what's your thought on that? I know you're in a couple niches, so how have you?
I don't think you can ever go wrong being targeted very, very, very specifically. Just don't be a creeper. Like I feel like too many times people do creepy things with retargeting. Like, ooh, I saw you were on my website, and it's like, I don't know. I don't think that's the right play there. Because people are already a little like sensitive about their privacy, and when you're like that, like open about that, it's kind of weird. But
I saw you're on my website. Thanks for not covering your webcam.
Well, I know one of the retargeting ads we ended up doing for one of the courses that we sold. I think it was like, I think it said something like, "Hey, wait, like I saw you were on the order page. You never ordered. Was there is it because you don't like Matt?" That was what I ended up saying inside the retargeting. Remember that one? I was like one of the first ones. Yeah. But yeah, that's super creepy.
Well, and I think it depends on your audience too, right? Like if you're going to a cold audience, that somewhat cold audience, like where like it might not be as weird because if you're retargeting people that are a little warm,
a bunch of marketers, they already know we're going to be we're tagging them and remarketing them anyways.
Henry do that kind of stuff, but usually his market's pretty warm when he does that kind of stuff. But I think there's a time and a place. But yeah, no, like I use very, very targeted like affinity targeting, right? Like targeting specific groups of people, and those always the cost might be higher, but the conversion rate typically is much higher as well. When you target specific groups of people, parents, healthcare workers, teachers, first responders, self-employed people. Like when you target very specific niches, the response rate is higher because they feel special, right? There's that exclusivity factor that plays into the psychology of doing that. And it's important to do that because of that thing. Like if you run a general ad, like you might get cheaper costs, but what you'll find is you'll also see a lower conversion rate from the standpoint of they're not as pumped up. So like I see on my automated responses that like I saw on my self-employed, when I run self-employed, I get like 50 to 60% automated response rates, whereas on like a regular just a open first-time home buyer, new home buyer type of a campaign, I see typically like 30 to 40%. Because it's so much more of a general, not targeted, not specifically for them. So the response rate is lower, if that makes sense. So I don't think there's, as long as you don't like kind of stray too creepy, you can get pretty niche down like that and have really, really, really good results.
Yeah. You can't you can't like niche down to targeting people with the name Bill and then say, "Hey, Bill," like they don't let you do that.
Weird. Yeah, that's weird. Well, people do that though. I mean, I've seen some e-com guys with the shirts like, "Oh, if you were born in June." And I feel like that's weird. Like I just feel like it's a little weird. But
yeah, what was the one I always see is like legends are born in May or something like that. Like, that one. Oh my gosh, man. But it's smart. I get it. Makes sense. Luke, what's your advice to agency owners in their first 6 months that you wish you would have known when you got started? It's a great question, Tim.
I would say you're not doing enough. You think you are, but you're not doing enough. What I say is choose 3 things, maybe 2 to 3 different prospecting methods and go all in. Like go hard on every single one of them every single day. Like you're not doing enough. Most people are spending so much time like what I like to call hope marketing, like just hoping people are gonna fall into their lap. Because that's kind of like when you start off, that's how it's sold to you, right? That it's super easy, like you'll hit 10K in no time, yada yada yada. And 10K, by the way, 10K is peasant bill in agency status. If you think 10K is a lot, like if you're a freelancer and that's all you want to do, 10K is great. But if you want to grow a business, 10K is barely going to cover your freaking bottom, whatever. It's going to cover your expenses.
Yeah.
Just like letting you know. I mean that like. 10K sounds like a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, but it's not. But yeah, I would say like you're not doing enough activities that are profit making activities. Typically, you're spending time in Facebook groups. You're doing stupid crap that isn't going to make you money.
Makes sense.
And
No, I love it. Luke, have you tried other lead gen strategies like YouTube or Google Ads with your clients?
I have not, but I will be doing that for sure because I got an account that was spending like $3,000 to $5,000 a day turned off for like a little bit, and I was like, ah.
Yeah.
So, So I'm definitely gonna be, yeah. Within the next 6 to 12 months, I'm gonna be adding YouTube, Google, but I'm not gonna do it myself. So I refuse to learn any more platforms. Facebook's enough for me. But I'll bring people in to do YouTube, Google, Snapchat, whatever, just because I know it's very, like, 'cause we could literally lose our entire businesses in a single day if Facebook decided to shut us down.
We were just talking about this today too.
Yeah, a lot of people did when Google was changing SEO, man. I mean, a lot of people got just completely screwed on SEO, you know, with this update and then the next update and then the Penguin update and like all these different updates that came through, and they just wipe people off.
Yep.
They're just gone.
I agree.
So, no, that's awesome. That makes sense. Alina says, Luke, from all your testing and clients who have stuck with you, what 3 characteristics do you feel has made them succeed and stay with you longer? And I'm taking out speed to lead because that's a given. Interesting. So the 3 characteristics that have made them succeed and stay longer with you, besides speed to lead.
So I think really it comes down to not even that. It's about working with the right people, and I think that you learn that over time. When you first start, I think you should take anybody that you can on when you first start. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think as you start to grow, you start to qualify people, and you eliminate the people that are going to leave after a month. And you can identify that right away. Like, if you have a good onboarding, if you have all that sort of stuff. You can find people. Like, if they have the wrong expectations, if they think they're going to close 4 deals in the first month, like, you shouldn't take them on. Like, you really shouldn't, unless you're just new, and you should just take them on so you can get some experience. But yeah, I mean, I think it's more on us than it is on them a lot of times, right? It's about setting the proper expectations. It's about setting them up with the right systems. It's about setting them up with that, like, the right sales process and all that stuff, and identifying whether they have the resources to actually do it, right? Because a lot of times we take people on that give us like a million red flags, and I've done it. I do it all. I mean, I still do it. I still bring on clients. I mean, I had to refund a guy after like 3 days because the first 2 leads that came in were poor credit leads, and he said, "Why don't you just refund me after 2 leads?" Two leads.
Wow.
So people are crazy. Like, people are crazy. It is what it is. Like,
yeah, I mean, at that point, it's worth it. It's worth it to you. Yeah, I will refund you.
Yeah. I mean, I lost some money, but you know, it is what it is. Like, I was like, I don't want to spend the money that you gave me, and then at the end of the month realize I'm out. Instead of out like a couple $100, I'm out whatever. Like, right?
Yeah. I'm
out $2,500. I would hate
so.
that.
Have you noticed any commonalities between the people that have stayed with you and been successful? I mean, this is coming. Alina and her husband are a real estate agent and a mortgage officer. So
I think it's mindset tends to be probably the number one thing. When someone comes in and they're like, "Oh, well, I've tried internet leads and they suck," and then they're like that stuff. Like, when they come in like that, like, you already know that they're not going to succeed because they've in their own mind they've already failed.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, like, I will never give up, so I'll just keep going. Like, I mean, even if I invest in something that's bad, like, I'll roll it off my bag because I know that that's a learning experience for me. But when people come in with a mindset that they're gonna fail, like, they're gonna fail 100% of the time because that's what they're thinking.
Makes sense.
So yeah, that's what I say.
So mindset. Shane, have you noticed anything as far as characteristics and commonalities between people that succeed and stay longer?
Yes. Yeah, I mean,
Thank you. Awesome. Yeah. Next question.
Yes, I have. Yes. Well, I was just trying to think of, like, as you guys were talking about this, like, some of our better clients and who's really crushing it. They all have the same personalities, which is really interesting. They're, you know, we've talked about this before. We've even talked about it on Whiskey Thursday before. You know, anybody that knows this personality profiles, I mean, you know, any of the DIs are always the ones that are crushing it. They're out there, they're making their calls, they're, communicate with their leads, and they're, they're working those 12, 14-hour days with their clients. I mean, those are the guys that are like, and Matt, some of the clients I've worked with that have done very, very well. They're seeing 4 or 5% conversions, like those are the types of personalities that are out there. They're also the personalities I like to work with, because it typically they're it's a common personality for business owners or for top producing agents, and I also get along with them really well. So that's my preference. But I also find they just crush their leads. It's, they do very, very well.
Well, and when they don't think like no lead's a bad lead too, right? Like
exactly. I've got to find that exactly. I've got a couple clients like that, where that's it's exactly what they feel like. No lead is a bad lead. The only time they become a bad lead is when they tell you to fuck off, and it's like, okay, fine, I'll just move on to the next one. And, I was able to reach you, so, and I've told this story many, many times about, one client that we have, and I called him up one night, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm texting my leads. Like, you're sending me leads, and it's 10:30 at night, and he's texting his leads, like, but that's what it takes. Like, and these guys are, he was trying to achieve, close to $1 million in gross commissions that year. There's a couple other clients out there that I have same personalities. Yeah. That's what he was trying to reach. Yeah. That year. I don't think he was going to hit. I don't think he hit those targets, but at least that's what he was trying to achieve, right? So the other thing I've noticed too about this type of personality, which makes them a really, really good client. Part of the challenge with real estate, Matt, you and I have talked about this, is that a lot of agents are when they get their license, they're taught like, hey, pick a number. Like, where do you want to get to, right? What are you comfortable with? Like, are you comfortable? And then even Dan Henry teaches this too. It's like, are you comfortable at $10,000 a month? And it's like, yeah, I'm like most people be really comfortable with that, right? The majority of the population is actually comfortable with that. They're okay. And real estate agents are no different. And a lot of them are taught this, where it's like, what number are you comfortable with? And so that's what we're going to try to achieve. And you're coming in there saying, listen, we can get you from, $75,000 in commissions to $400,000 in commission. They don't fucking want that. They don't need it. They're comfortable. They're happy taking their kids out, not working 14-hour days. So this is why
that sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, and this is why I like that high D or that DI personality, because those types of personalities are also people that typically own other businesses, or they've done entrepreneurship. They're always looking to, get ahead and achieve higher numbers. They're looking to build out their teams. I can tell right away when I talk to a client with this type of personality, when they tell me, okay, you can generate 100 leads. Well, what about 250 leads? Because I'm thinking maybe I'll hire like a buyer's agent. I'm like, perfect. You're the perfect client. I want to work with you, because as soon as we hit 250, you're going to look at bringing on another buyer's agent, and then another one. You're going to be looking to grow and grow, right? Because there are plenty, and the part of the problem with that is it's a very small percentage of the population that is this personality type, right? So that becomes a challenge in trying to find those types of clients. But I know when I talk to clients, and if they've owned another business or they run another business, or even their spouse is running another business and they work with them, like, to me, that's the perfect client.
One thing I would say I notice is if they know what their goals are. If they know what their goals are offhand, if you're like, you say something, like you ask them like, hey, well, what are your goals for 2019? They're like, well, I want to do 119 transactions at an average sales price of $280,000. Like, that person, you're like, oh, okay, now I'm paying attention. If they're like, I don't know, I'd like to do like at least, 30, maybe 40 transactions. And you're like, okay, what if you only did 25? And they're like, well, that would still be good. What if you did 20? I'd be bummed, but I'd be okay with it, right? Like, it's funny. You'll see them just slowly walk themselves back. Like, the person who's dedicated, they stand out.
That's funny. That's funny you say that, because I remember asking someone that, and they're like, I was like, because that's one of the questions we asked. Like, what are you future pacing, right? Like, what would success look like to you in 6 months or 12 months? Like, what are your goals for the next 6 or 12 months? And then like, well, I don't know, like we're, maybe like do like another 2 or 3 loans a month, or like, I don't know, like, but there's like no like actual like commitment. There's no like fire behind it. Like you can just tell. You can just tell when someone's like super committed and like super pumped about what they're doing, and when they're just like, well, I'm just trying to figure out how to like make a couple more dollars.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to have to work. I don't really want to have to work.
Well, I remember we're talking to this one client, like the guy that was trying to hit $1 million. I was asking like, what are your goals this year? He's like, well, I want to hit $1 million in gross commissions. I'm like, no, like this year? He's like, yeah, this year.
$1 million in sales?
Like I'm kind of laughing on the phone. He's also kind of laughing too about it, right? And I mean, that's just like to try to achieve that. It's a lot, right? So I'm like, where are you at right now? He's like, well, I haven't done the listing yet this year. I'm like, what lease? And it was true too, right? Because he was doing some other stuff. So basically, he was getting back into the real estate side of things. But anyways, it was but those are big goals, right? And that's awesome.
Let's see. So we have another question. Oh, it's the opposite side of the spectrum. Is there any signs you should recognize when to turn down or accept an agent as a client? Well, we went through the 3 nuggets for who we'd like to work with. So let's stick with what are some signs that you say, okay, I'm probably not going to be a good fit. I don't think we should work together.
I bought Zillow leads and they sucked. I bought internet leads before and they sucked. I do all referrals. Those are the main things. Those are the main red flags.
Yeah.
Expectations like I should expect to close 10% of the leads. I don't really want to work. I had the guy that I had to refund tell me that he didn't really want to call the leads. Can he just let the automations work? And I should have just like said, sorry, like if that's what you want to do, that's not the system for you. Like you should go somewhere else and waste your money somewhere else. My bad. But it was one of my sales guys like first sale, so I was like, whatever, I'll take it. I want to like get him a win and like pay him his commission and all that sort of stuff. And then came back to bite us like 5 days later. So yeah, those are like wrong expectations. Internet leads suck, and I don't want to work for it. I mean, I don't know. Those are
makes sense. I think the one that I've caught in a couple times, and like one time I let him, like we were gonna work together. I started doing the work. I didn't charge him because I was like, I don't think this is gonna work, but I'm kind of curious. And it's basically like he started indicating that he felt like this was me working for him almost in an employee type of thing. Like, I need you to do this. I want this on the landing page. And it was just like, no, that's not going to work. He wants like, I want this on the landing page. I want this on the landing page. I want this. I'm like, you need a graphic designer and a social media guy. You don't need me. I'm out,
Yeah.
And we parted ways within like, I don't know, 6 hours. What about you, Shane?
Anybody that ever asks me for a spreadsheet with numbers, wrong client for me. That's one big, aside from everything that Luke mentioned. But yeah, definitely. Usually somebody says, can you send me a big spreadsheet with all the breakdowns and the numbers and stuff like that? I typically just won't get along with you guys. Again, talk about the, again, it's just that personality. I just don't get along with that kind of personality. I also find this doesn't make a very good, I also find them not to make a very good client. So that, I've had one like that, which was a business partner it was 2 guys. And the one guy was just all about spreadsheets and stuff like that. And I told the other partner, I'm like, I can't talk to your partner. I really need to deal with you. And if we move forward, like, it's you and I that start moving forward with this. And that's what ended up happening. So the other thing though, like one other client I spoke to, and I remember, I basically told her like, we're just not a good fit. I mean, it's very similar to what you said, Luke, which was, I don't want to call the leads. So I'm like, yeah, well, it's just not gonna, that's not going to work. No, she was a new agent and she didn't feel like making the phone calls. She wanted, she wanted leads to start reaching out to her. And you know, there are certain campaigns and certain things that we can do to do that. It's just you're going to spend a lot of money, and it's going to take a lot of time for you to see results. So
it takes 6 months. It's going to take 6 months of branding or SEO or something like that for you to start getting inbound calls. I mean, yeah, like automations can help to a certain extent, but you still have to do your job, right? Like that's still part of your job. And so many times, like in an industry that prides themselves as salespeople, it's interesting to find that probably 90% of them are okay, not even 90%. I'd say most of them are bad at sales and networking, but I'd say most people are good networkers, not really good salespeople, right? Like, and that's a difference, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being a good networker and getting referrals and going to coffee dates and like calling your SOI and like all that sort of stuff. But like internet leads is another animal, right? It's a whole nother thing. And if you expect the same thing out of that, and what I find funny too is people nurture their SOI for 6 or 9 months, and then they want a friggin' immediate return from Facebook ads. Like it doesn't make sense. I get it because you're paying for it. I get it, but yeah, exactly, Tim. Hunter versus farmer, right? Like there's hunting and there's farming. Like at some point, like I love to farm. I love referrals. I love it too. Like those are the best leads to close. But I also realize that I have to do some of that other stuff. I have to go out and find people because that's how you scale a real business. You have to hunt. If you want to scale a business and you want to have a business that is predictable, you have to do things other than just referrals. I'm sorry, you just can't do referrals. You have to do something outside of that. I mean, maybe you're working with someone to build the referrals. Like maybe you're working with a loan officer or loan officers working with a real estate agent to buy Zillow leads together. But that's still about kind of, working together.
Oh, yeah. And you've got like the Brian Buffini and those guys who build their entire businesses on teaching how people get massive referrals. But like they don't teach you how to get massive referrals if you don't know anybody in your hometown. Well, right. They may technically, but how they're doing it is you're generating new people for your database, right? You can't just take a database of 0 and turn that into referrals.
Right.
You have to generate new people for your database.
Right. So you have to. There has to be some sort of hunting. I mean, networking is kind of hunting. I mean, you're going to places and you're meeting people. So
kind of like gathering.
Yeah, hunting, gathering, whatever. Hunting, I mean, it's still not really sales per se. Like people are so proud. Like we close 70% of the people. Like, yeah, well, you do all referrals. Of course, you're closing 70%. Like, anybody can do that. So, yeah.
I love it. Cedric, yeah, I bought 2 audiobooks through this already. Love it. Tim says, please build on customer service, por favor. Luke, I love the onboarding call, then a pre-recorded personal video. Is there anything else you do that kind of stands out?
I mean, I'm working on that stuff. That's my biggest focus right now is building out a process. And some of that has to do with, so some of the ideas that I have behind that is the customer experience. So like as soon as they come on board, I'm thinking about bringing on like a box, right? Like sending out a gift box. Mm-hmm. And then halfway through the first month, sending out a thank you card, just a handwritten thank you card of like, hey, I'm so excited that you're on board. Thank you so much, yada, yada, yada. Just like the little things that make you feel special as a person. It removes some of that fear of like, I shouldn't have signed up for this. Even if it's working, even if it could work at some point, like a lot of times if they don't have those security things, it ends up that they just quit too early. And in this space, in a space where the sales cycle is 6 to 9 months or more, and even on the short term side, it's 3 months typically. Because I mean, even if you have someone that's ready to buy, the second you get a lead, you still have to get them pre-approved, find a house, get a contract accepted. Then there's a 30-day minimum, or probably 21 to 30-day closing process, maybe 45-day, depending on what sort of program you're using. And then you close, right? That's still a good 60, 70, 80, 90 days from the time that you start running an ad until the time that you close a deal minimum, right? Like, yeah, you might have the anomaly where you'll close a deal the first 45 days. That's
1 week.
That's going to be very practically impossible, right? Like it can happen. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it's practically impossible because it's just not the reality of the sales cycle of the specific industry that we're working in. And if you think somehow a marketer can compress the time of a sales cycle that is that long into 45 or 30 days is just ridiculous. It's not possible. You have to get them, because they're making, again, the people are making the biggest purchase they've ever made in their entire life. Yep. $400,000, $300,000. Like, it's not an easy decision, right? Like, and you can't speed that up.
It's a 30-year commitment.
You can't speed it up. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because we have had and actually this wasn't even in from the ads. It was from a 7-day challenge thing that I did. But there was a guy who made a phone call. It just so happened the person he talked to had already found the house they wanted. They were ready to put in an offer, and it was cash, right? And the other person accepted. They closed it within 7 days. But it's like, that's one out of how many tens of thousands of leads.
And they didn't have a realtor.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, I mean, someone like that typically has a realtor too.
Yeah.
Already.
Yep.
That's the thing too, is like, in that agentology report, they said like the portal leads are the best leads, but he said ironically enough, they're also most likely to have an agent already.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's one of the things. It's crazy how we've noticed the foreclosure campaigns that we're running, how people don't have an agent, or they'll say they don't have an agent, versus regular homes list. They say they have an agent, right? When they feel like there's something of benefit to them, they're almost willing to move over that line. Like, I never signed anything with this agent, It's pretty crazy, because we used to see it all the time with regular homes lists. You would see, I'm already working with an agent. My brother's an agent. Somebody I'm working with is an agent, blah, blah, blah. But with this, it's like we're not getting that, probably even a third of the time that we were with regular homes lists.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the questions I ask, I see like 95% of people don't have an agent, because I asked that question on almost all my surveys, is, hey, are you an agent? Because obviously that's a selling point from my standpoint, is like, hey, loan officer, like, give this to one of your freaking referral partners.
Yeah.
This person says they don't have a realtor. If you get them approved, pre-approved, send them how powerful is it as a loan officer that you're the one that's feeding the realtors? How often has a realtor seen a loan officer feed them a lead? Like, I was at a mastermind, and we were asking like some top producing guys here in San Diego, and they were asking like, what would be the difference maker if a loan officer approached you? What would be the difference maker? Like, well, if they brought me a lead, that, like, I've only had that happen to me once. One of the three loan officer agents said that one loan officer one time gave them a lead, and it was a freaking, like, a Bank of America. One of the big banks was the one that did it to them. So it wasn't even like a regular. It was a big bank that never does that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, they don't care. Like, they get all their fed to them, but for whatever reason, that's the only person that ever gave them a lead.
I can't think of a single loan officer that sent me a lead when I was not already sending something to them. Right? There's a couple when I was sending stuff to them, they might send me, but if they just sent me something out of the blue, I cannot think of a single person that's done that. Plenty of paid for lunch in a group setting.
Yeah, and we're trying to flip
none of them.
I'm trying to flip the script like that. I mean, like, we're trying to do that, because like we got to change that up, man. I mean, real estate is the sexy part of the home transaction. And as a loan officer, how can you get in front of the right people? And that's like, hey, like, we're the hunters. We're gonna bring it to you, right? Like, we're too many times like loan officers come to realtors and like, oh, well, we have the fastest rates, the fastest turn times, the best rates, and I pick up my phone all the time. Oh, so you just gave me your job description then, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And that is one that I've heard so many times. And I'll actually answer my phone. Like, so many, I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get it. Like, people tell me they're going to.
Everybody's telling me the same damn thing. That's not a unique selling proposition.
Yeah. Or you have some sort of system that your company has paid for that's supposed to help me get leads if I do all this work. Like, I've seen that so many times. Well, we have this website. You can start giving this to people and you'll be able to get leads from it. Like, no, I'm going to have to send traffic to your website, and it may or may not convert, is what you're really saying.
Well, and that's the thing, is like, and I came from a mortgage side, and I see how ass backwards most big companies are, and like how behind they are in technology, in all of that stuff. And so they're still trying to tell people, they're still like telling like the core and these like, and even these training courses, the core, like, make your loan officer, make your realtor appointment calls on Mondays, and then just cold call your appointment, get some coffee dates. And it's like, no, like, what value are you actually providing to these people? Like, yeah, sure, you're different from someone else, but like to get your foot in the door, saying that you're different from someone else is not going to work. Right. And so, it is what it is.
Yeah. And then the other one they come in with is like, I can work with people with a credit score as low as like 580. Right. Then you send them somebody with a 580 and they're like, oh, it doesn't qualify. And you're like, this is like the one key thing that you had that the other guy
turn down. I'll take all your turn downs.
Yep, exactly. I'll take your turn downs and we'll get them credit repaired. We'll get them going. And then it's like, no, you're too busy to do that. Like, be honest with us. I'd rather you just like took me golfing. And we're like, hey, I want to do business together because we seem to get along, right? Like, I'd rather that than what this is. But like coming with a lead, like that's a piece.
Yeah, bringing value, right? And at least as a foot in the door, right? Like as a foot in the door is like, hey, bring some leads, figure out how to build their business. Because like at the end of the day, most loan officers aren't helping realtors build their business. It's the opposite usually. I mean, yeah, like if you can close on time and all that stuff, that's super valuable. If you're bringing leads and you suck at your actual job, then that's not a good thing either. So you actually have to be good at your job and provide value, right? Like you still have to have both things.
Yeah.
And so that's providing leads. You probably suck at your job. So you got to be careful there too, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. Let's see. Brett says, what systems are you using for your long forms?
Survey Gizmo.
Survey Gizmo? Okay. And why do you choose that one over some of the other ones? Because I know there's a few others that people like.
Branch Logic, it loads the fastest. It has the highest conversion rates. Ultimately, it's the fact that you can. The biggest thing is that the speed for there's not a huge bounce rate because of the fact that it loads really quickly. But then there's also the redirect capabilities and branch logic, so you can start to segment traffic based off of kind of credit scores and stuff like that.
Love it. Let's see here. I can attest to lazy agents. I see it all the time in my stats. Stats don't lie, but people do. Says Pat. Love it. Alina says 3 golden nuggets by 3 masters of lead gen. Any agency owner should focus on this advice right here. Thank you, Alina. What's your rundown on process of running an agency to stay organized and stay in your lane? And they did the quotes, so I did their quotes.
I don't know, man. I'm not good at I'm stuck at organization.
You just move the needle every day is kind of what I
do everything wrong every single day. I just do one thing good every day, I guess.
I think that's the worst question for Luke. I don't know you that well, but just, obviously you just confirmed that you're not all that organized. It's definitely the worst question for Matt and I.
What?
I think most business owners.
Yeah, like
most business owners are more of the vision and less of the details, and so it's hard for us. It's hard for us to get into that, but we have to, like, especially at first. You have to figure out how to get the details in place, and I think it has to do with systems. You have to create systems, SOPs, and put it in writing, put it into videos. That's honestly the way that I had to do it, and I still every day I still suck, but like. Hiring someone forced me.
No, like we're the worst at this too. Like Matt and I are pretty. I think we're getting a little bit better, but I'm terrible at it. Like come tax season, I think I posted a picture of like me doing my taxes on my carpet. That's me. At the end of the year, like just like okay, it's tax time. I am putting all my information inside of QuickBooks and getting my books up to speed and. I'm the worst at it. This is my mail that I haven't opened yet that I still have to go through.
Yeah, I don't even want to show you.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Shane. I've got that. I've got another stack over here.
It's like I got a big giant pile of paper. I've got to go through. Like I just don't understand why somebody just doesn't come in here and do it for me.
I just had to hire a house cleaner because I was just like, oh, whatever.
It's like it's just funny because I was talking to my wife yesterday. It's like, why don't we just we need to hire everybody to do everything because I just don't want to do anything anymore.
Yeah. We had that conversation this week as well, man. It's been a crazy week. So
yeah, we hired a house cleaner. We use what's that thing though? They deliver the groceries for us now. Like
oh yeah,
kind of save time,
For sure, absolutely. Yeah. We were talking about like tonight too. Like it was dinner time, and my wife's been working like crazy. It's this season, right now for real estate.
Yeah.
I was thinking we're gonna have to hire a cook here soon.
Yeah.
It's like 6:30 and it's like there's no food cooked yet.
We go out to eat almost every time like that too. I'll get out, I'll like walk out the room. I'm like, man, we haven't eaten anything and no food. All right, let's just go eat something.
Yeah.
Mexican or something.
Man, I'm glad to know I'm not the only one. So let's see. All right, Joe says, I need to find out what I am in your personality test. Joe, I did send you the link. It's like TonyRobbins.com/disc, DISC. Tyler says, how can you tell the difference between an agent that isn't converting and one that didn't have an effective campaign? That's an interesting. Well, I would say an effective campaign will have leads, and an agent that's converting will have closings.
Yeah. If you have leads, that's an effective campaign. If every single lead has bad numbers, then that's not an effective campaign. But other than that, it's an effective campaign.
Yeah, I mean there's been like one lead source I've ever dealt with that was something where I just decided like I don't want to work on these. I don't want to try and convert these. They take too long. And it was like bad credit stuff. And it was just like we took people who couldn't qualify for a loan and they wanted you to work with them. And this wasn't my thing. You know, it may work on a 2-year rolling pipeline, but I just did not feel like focusing on that. But yeah, I think any lead can work. It's just figuring out what the timeline is and how to work them best.
Yeah. Exactly.
Let's see here. Never Lose a Customer Again by Joey Coleman. Great book for client appreciation and retention. I love it. I've actually heard that one is good. I have not purchased it myself. Luke would love to talk to you about onboarding and what you're doing here. I've spent hundreds of hours breaking this process down. That's from Brett. Let's see. Olivia says, "Yep, I was just talking with my brother-in-law, who makes custom wood pens, about making one for my current client. Help to show that you are thinking of them and that they matter." Makes sense.
I want a wood pen. Who's building wood pens?
I don't know.
Someone is.
Oh, who is that? Olivia.
Olivia.
Oh.
But I don't know who the brother-in-law is.
Oh, the brother-in-law is building one.
Yeah. Wood pens.
I wouldn't mind. I have these crappy pens here. They keep breaking.
You gotta find a title. You gotta find a title company, bro. You get a bunch. I got like a bundle of them from a title company.
Guys, I think I showed you this the other day, Matt. I don't even do anything with these pens. This is what I do all day. Like I dribble, like draw little things all day long. Yeah.
You know
I showed you. Remember I showed you the other day, right?
No.
Stress relief, huh? Just scribble.
Well, when I'm like, because I'm on phone calls all day long, I just sit there with my pen and I pretend that I'm taking notes.
It's so funny. In my new office, I've made for myself that I cannot have pen and paper in that office. Like everything has to stay digital.
Oh yeah, Matt's going paperless.
Yeah,
you're going paperless, right?
In that office, yeah. Here it's another story, but still.
Yeah, there's about 400 papers behind you, so. I think
Yeah. See, here I'm just like, there's so much, and this has kind of become a storage room while we're working on getting some work done to the house. So that's what it is.
Nice. You're gonna get a door installed on that office?
What's that?
You're gonna get a door installed on that office now?
Yeah, man. We're getting doors put in, French doors.
Moving up in life.
I know, right?
Yeah. That's what happens when you get some success.
Right? You start winning, and you're like, maybe
get a haircut, get a new office chair.
Speaking of experiences like that, what you're talking about, sending out a box for your new clients, man, I bought an office chair, and I splurged a little bit. I've always wanted one of these like gaming chair things, right? Yeah. But I'll tell you what, the experience when you bought it, like they give you a hat, they give you instead of instructions like in a little white paper booklet, it's a poster, and on the back, all the instructions, right? And so it's kind of cool. And then they give you white gloves to put on while you're assembling the whole thing. And instead of like the crappy Allen wrenches you normally get, they give you like chromed out Allen wrenches and stuff. And like the whole thing was like, this is kind of cool, like that they put this all together,
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can definitely see the experience of purchasing something is becoming a thing.
Yeah, well, and that's what he talks about. That's literally what he talked about in the book. Is like before it used to be whatever. Then it was like in the 80s it was like customer service, and then like in the 90s, it was all about like Amazon started coming into play and stuff like that. And then the 2000s was about, there's like different stages of like what you need to do. And like in this day and age, it's customer experience is what's going to take you to that next level and differentiate yourself from everybody else, because like the internet and like all these different things have kind of compressed so much of like, well, it's also expectations, right? Like when you're used to, like, Amazon has screwed us, because like now it's like we're all used to 2-day shipping, and like anything that takes longer than 2 days, we're like, what the hell, it's taking so long. And realistically, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, like that would have been like crazy. But because our expectations are so high elevated, it's like that's what we have to raise our standards to that level.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works. But it does, you know. Like I said, like I spent a good amount of money on the chair, and like up until opening it and like having that experience, even though I knew I was having an experience based on what they were trying to sell me, right? I was like, I feel better about this now. Like I knew I wanted it, but it was still a lot of money. And it's like, you know, I'm such a frugal punk, you know? So it was crazy though, to understand it a little bit better by going through it. You know, it's kind of like when you talk about funnels with people, but then when you go through somebody's funnel and it's a really good one and you're like, oh, I wish I would have recorded that process. You know,
everything's somewhere for a reason, right? Like every piece of what you do is on purpose.
Yeah.
It's super important.
100%. Let's see. What other questions do we have coming in?
Let's try to run through these. It's starting to get a little late here, and I know we told Luke.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because we started at
yeah, we started at 8. So
I'm about to pee my pants, but it's okay.
No worries. If you want to take a break, we'll see if we can figure out where we were at.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Okay, sure.
No worries, man. Let's see here.
Hurry up, Matt.
All right, there's the wood pens. Okay, so it's right here. Does he have a website? Might be interested in buying some. For the wood pens. Cool. Yep.
Olivia, post the website, Olivia.
Might as well.
People want to buy the wood pens.
Pat says there's no loyalty if the offer is good enough. Yep. Referring to the October 3rd stuff. Build a relationship to keep your client. 100%. Olivia is sending the information. Let's see here. On long form, do you prefer a chatbot or Wufoo type Survey Gizmo type of forms? He's using Survey Gizmo. Let's see here. Luke mentioned earlier that you were okay with targeting audiences. How small of an audience has worked best for you? So we'll ask him that when he gets back.
Audience size. I'll make a note here. I'll take a real note. Audience.
You ready? I'm going to just keep going and we'll figure this out as we go.
Audience size. What size?
Audience size. Funniest story from prospecting or having sales calls. I like it.
Was that a question?
Yep.
People want us to share a funniest
story from sales calls or prospecting.
Eesh.
Yeah, I would.
I don't have a funny story.
Let me think here. I mean, I've heard, like, when I was prospecting for real estate, I used to hear all the time when I asked them, you know, how soon are you thinking about making a move? They would say they're going to carry me out of here in a pine box. So I heard that all the time. And the funny thing is, I always just was like, oh yeah, and I was thinking in the back of my mind, like, they don't do that anymore. Like, they're gonna come in, there's a whole body bag thing they'll bring you, like, but I'm not gonna ruin this for you. Like, just stick with the pine box image you got. So
any funny stories, Luke, from your prospecting or phone calls you've had with clients?
People are funny. I mean, prospecting, I mean, there's a lot of a-holes out there. Oh, I did have it's not really prospecting, but it was from running an ad. I got someone that posted a funny ass meme that said it was the never gonna what did it say? Never gonna give you my, like, I don't know. It was like a Rick Roll meme. It was so freaking funny. I need to find it. I need to find it and post it. It was so funny.
This was like ads you were running for yourself?
Yeah, it was like the funniest thing. It was like, never gonna give you my info, never gonna something. I don't remember what it was. It was like so, not a song, never gonna give that.
Yeah.
Like that song, but it was like so freaking funny, man. I need to
find it. Somebody earlier asked what size audience. So when we were talking about audience sizes earlier, and just like hyper targeting, what size audiences are like what's the smallest that you would get down to?
I'd like to see 50 to 100,000, in my opinion, if not more.
Even like a highly targeted audience.
You could go like if you go smaller than that, like you can do that and it'll work. It'll just work for less. It's just not going to work long term.
Right.
So you could do like, for mortgage, you could do like an employee, like target a specific employer in your town, and that'll work really well for like a week or 2 or 3 or maybe 4, depending on how large the audience is. But it's going to burn the audience out. Like you don't have enough audience to continue to run that long term. But it can be very, very successful short term.
Right.
Like I know someone who ran an employer ad and got like 5 pre-approvals, and like it was just crazy, like a bunch of applications for approval from like $300 worth of ad spend. So it works really well as you just burn your audience super fast, and it doesn't always work.
Right.
So like you can test it and see, but it can work really well depending on how targeted you are. So yeah.
I wonder if you could do something. I was trying to talk. I just realized it's muted. But I wonder if you could do something like that with a lifetime budget, right? So you throw $50 at like 20 different companies like that, lifetime budget, and see what that would look like. Because I imagine it would spend it over time when they found the right ones. But I don't know how long that could go for and actually be profitable.
Yeah. Because initially it's probably going to be real good, and then over time, it's just going to keep growing up and up and up and up and up, and then you're going to start to see the frequency going up. And if you get past like 2 in the frequency, you're just going to you're done. So
when it passes where?
Like a 3 or 4, 2 or 3, 4 frequency.
Yep. No, we've seen the same thing. It's about 3 is kind of like you exhausted it.
Yeah.
And I have a quick question. Yeah, no, I have a quick question.
No, Shane, go ahead.
What?
Just messing with you.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
What?
What was I saying? So I have a question on budgets for ad sets. And anything? Have you seen any sort of limitations on how much you can spend on an ad set before your lead costs are just out of whack? Or what are you doing in terms of strategies? You're dealing, you're dealing in larger budgets, spending a lot of money. Strategy you might be using.
I've spent it like $700 a day on one ad set. It gets tough though. Like you need to have multiple ads. You got to switch out your creatives more often. At small scale, like at small budgets, like $10 a day, you can run an ad for 3 or 4 months and probably be okay. But when you're running, $500 a day or $1,000 a day, in a single ad, not necessarily a single ad set, but like in a campaign, like a single campaign, you end up having to switch creatives a lot quicker. You're gonna get creative fatigue before you get audience fatigue.
Right.
So
are you doing anything with duplicating campaigns maybe after 7 days or so to try to reach more people or anything like that? Are you sort of utilizing any sort of those?
Yeah, and I've tested a whole bunch of different things. I've done a lot of duplicating ads because obviously, like within each ad set, like every time you duplicate an ad, it's going to go into a different micro audience within the larger audience, and so some ads perform better. Like you could run I'm sure you run 5 ad sets to the same exact ad, and they're all performed differently because as like each ad set. So when Facebook's showing your ad, it's going to go into a very small bucket of people initially, and then over time it starts to expand out to everybody else. But it's basically testing your ad against a specific audience that it decides to choose, right? It's like, or this should be the best performing ad. The best performing audience. So initially, yeah, it's so different across the board. But typically, smaller ads, just more ad sets. What I've seen, especially recently, is smaller budgets at the ad set level, just multiple of them, just running more because you're just hitting different micro audiences within the same audience.
Right.
And
CBO, makes sense.
CBO's coming, so we're gonna have to figure that out because CBO hasn't performed consistently for me. I'm still testing it, but it's still not consistently performing to the level that I want.
Yeah, and then what's the strategy behind, like if you're doing CBO, then what's going to be the strategy here in splitting up the audiences, right? like you're basically going to put $700 a day, and it's going to spend it all on one audience.
Right. I mean, you would just put in different ad sets within that and find what Facebook wants, but then obviously just shut off non-performers as you scale or as you kind of go, and then you can.
Yeah, but that may not be the best solution either, because I mean we see this all the times with ads as well. Like when we're split testing ads, especially at a higher level, you start seeing Facebook spending money on ads that aren't performing.
Yeah, dude, it pisses me off. Their whole idea is like,
I remember being on the phone with Matt and swearing because Facebook is spending money on an ad that's costing $8, and there's one right below that's $3. It's like,
bro, that pisses me off so much, man. It like spent $1,000 on an ad set that's getting $20 leads, and there's another one that's getting $7. I'm like, why the hell is it? I'm like, I'm optimizing for conversions. For leads. I'm not optimizing for the cheapest clicks or the cheapest click-through rates or anything like that. Like, you need to be freaking giving me the cheapest leads. But that's what sucks. I mean, you need to start utilizing rules at scale too, using the rules within Facebook. Otherwise, you're going to get gray hairs like me.
There you go. Let's see here. When lead gen for real estate, what ad costs for test ads do you recommend? Also, do you run ads for distressed properties to find deals? That's for real estate agents.
I haven't run real estate investing type ads in a while, but they're definitely tough.
Yeah,
they're definitely tougher than the average. I've done quite a bit of.
Yeah, so just a reminder for people. Yeah, just a reminder for people. Luke spends most of his money on mortgage leads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well. And here's another one. Luke, if you're at liberty to discuss, what's your best performing ads?
Ooh.
What do you mean?
That's what I want to. Hang on
what
a second.
Best performing mortgage ads. What's the offer?
Hang on.
Specific programs. VA, first-time home buyer, affinity angles, so you can go after like teachers, healthcare professionals, first responders.
You do USDA rural development stuff?
Not really. I have an ad that performs, but I don't very rarely do I run it because most people don't do those, and most areas don't qualify for that unless they're rural, right?
Yep.
I mean, and so they work well, but the average loan officer doesn't really run that stuff.
Okay, makes sense.
Let's just a little bit really quickly. Let's talk a little bit about the ads because I want to know a little bit more about it. So the ads are typically specific to the offers that the agents or that the mortgage officers are offering. So you just talked about that. What does the creative look like? Are you typically using like a picture of a house or, something like that?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, pictures of house for veteran type stuff. Sometimes the pictures of veterans. Some other somewhat gray hat areas that I'd rather not discuss on a recorded live.
There you go. We'll save those for the after party after this.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway,
we should sell tickets to these after parties, Shane.
Oh yeah, my last question about the ads.
And it's the last question we actually have in here.
Okay, perfect. So last question about the ads that I have, because you're sending these to a survey, what does the call to action look like? Are you basically saying something like, hey, click this link to see if you qualify for this type of loan? Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
What button do you use for that?
Typically learn more.
Learn more?
Yeah. Sometimes no button.
Oh, really, eh?
Yeah.
Just the link inside the ad and that's it?
Well, no, I mean, there's a button, but there's not like the little like call to action button.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah.
like, there's still a link bar, but it's just like, it gives you more space to write your headline.
Right.
But typically learn more. But yeah, it's like, click below to see if you qualify, or, something along those lines. Click learn more to find out if you qualify. See if you qualify below, something like that.
And if all else fails, just keep testing, right?
Yep.
So,
Oh, I feel bad. We had one question I missed from Alex. Luke, give me advice. You've been a loan officer. I just became a mortgage agent in Toronto. doing marketing aside, could you give me advice on how to make it happen? I'm confused on which business to focus or how to combine them. He's also a marketer.
I was not really, I mean, I got my license. I don't necessarily consider myself a real loan officer because I didn't really ever do anything.
Yeah.
I talked to a couple people from some ads that I ran, but I never got to the point where I was submitting applications and getting people approved and all that process. So I can't speak to that. I fell in love with marketing pretty quick, and just kind of went all in on marketing, and the rest is history. So,
all right. Well,
I guess if it's your passion, do whatever your passion is, right? I mean, like whatever, like kind of excites you more. It doesn't necessarily have to excite you more, but I mean, that's what I did. So that's what I say to that. Makes sense.
Yeah. Cool. Well, with that, we're at the 2-hour marker. We would be if we started on time, but either way, Luke, thank you so much. Shane.
Luke says to me, he says, how long are these Whiskey Thursdays? I'm like, don't worry, under an hour.
Well, it's funny because I was gonna go.
Sorry, Luke.
I was potentially gonna go to get drinks with a buddy of mine, and then he was like, "Well, it sounds like it might take more than an hour, so let's reschedule." I was like, "Yeah, that's probably a good call," because I was gonna have to rush off of this. So I'm glad he made me reschedule.
Loving it. Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for answering all the questions. You guys, if you're watching live, hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay. And whatever you're watching, if you made it this far, hashtag trooper for making it all the way to the end here.
And Luke, what's your website? What's your company name? Show your shirt there. We can't see.
Yeah, where can people find out more about you?
Yeah. So Paragon Digital Marketing. Awesome.
Facebook. I just got my website done, and it's not like, I don't know. I haven't really done. Websites are like whatever. Like I don't really,
Yeah, but if a loan officer is watching right now and they want to hire you, where do they go?
Follow me on Facebook. Message me. Make it hard for people to catch me. No, I'm just kidding. Just
he's like, I'll give you my address. No worries.
Facebook is the best way. I mean, you could catch me on LinkedIn or Facebook. You could go on my website if you want, but it's easier if you go to Facebook, to be honest.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for being on. Shane, you have anything?
No, nothing else. Luke, we really appreciate all the time. I know we went way over here, and it was a blast talking to you. Finally, after 2 years, we get to get together and chit chat. With that, everyone who's watching still,
we got
19
party?
people. What, did you guys miss all that? Did you guys miss all that because it stopped?
No, you're good. You're good.
Hello?
I'm
good? Okay, awesome. Guys, if you're still watching here, for the people that are still watching, hashtag Trooper, let us know that you watched till the end. We love you guys, and thanks you so much for all of your support. And we will see you next week on Whiskey Thursday.
There you go. And Shane, you got to end it on the Facebook Live, not the Zoom Live.
I know. Let me just find. Hang on. Oh boy, how will this work?